It's all you, little homie!
Ready for takeoff.
สวัสดีครับ Welcome TALON fam to our very first episode of Flight Club, your one-stop destination for all things Valorant and VCT. I'm your host, Cruz, your insider man for everything VCT Pacific. Whether you're a passionate fan, a casual one, or simply just someone who's curious about the Valorant world, this podcast is for you. Before we dive into action, let me tell you what Flight Club is all about. As a professional Valorant player myself, I've had the privilege of competing at the highest level, so I've met different people and I've gained a lot of experience, so I'd like to share some stories, insights, and knowledge to our Valorant fans. And that's where Flight Club comes in. Each episode will be bringing the hottest topics, the spiciest arguments, and interviews with some of the biggest names in Valorant. We'll be covering everything from the latest Valorant news and updates, all the way to the best and worst Twitter takes. Flight Club isn't just about me though. I'll be bringing in a variety of pro players, coach, content creators. We'll be sharing perspective, experiences, crazy scrim stories, LAN arguments, after party ragers. We got it all in here. Flight Club is ready for takeoff. Okay, guys, so today I'm joined by two lost Americans in Korea, both hailing from the land of the free, home of the brave. My former coach turned fellow teammate Boy, and my current coach, Frost. So, to kick things off, could you please introduce yourself?
Hey guys, my name is Aaron Tao. I go by Boy in Valorant. I've been playing Valorant since the beta. Played amateur games like League of Legends and Counter-Strike, but landed my feet in Valorant thanks to this guy here. He kind of met me and picked me up through the rank lobbies and the 10-mans. It's kind of how we know each other.
Hector Rosario, otherwise known as Frost. I've been in esports a really long time. Started in Dota, Counter-Strike, Rocket League, Crossfire. Eventually found my way into Valorant thanks to Hiko. Former coach of 100 Thieves, GM/coach Team Secret, GM, coach of Team Furia, and now with you.
You guys were in 100 Thieves together. Like
Yes.
in a certain point of time,
Right.
You played, and he was your coach, basically.
Right, yeah.
So that's probably how you got close to each other. Could you elaborate on what happened then and there, and
Would you like to start? Do you want me to finish, or you want me to just go through the...
I'll kind of lead it from my perspective at the start. So at the beginning, like I said, I didn't really know Hector that well. I just kind of met him because, I was playing 10-mans with Nitro and his little friend group. And it was like me, Twist, Nitro, Elige, like those kind of guys.
So basically all of the CS players?
Yeah, like the top NA CS players were all just playing Valorant for fun, and I happened to get in that. Nick saw me in ranked or something, and we were playing on a scrim team together at that time. And so he just kind of invited me because he thought I was good. And then Hector was overwatching the games just for fun, just so he can get an idea of how we're playing. And then just out of the blue, he asked me if he at the time was trying out I think Poach, and Poach I think said that I was a potential duelist, and he agreed, and so that's how I got my first tryout with a tier 1 team, which is 100 Thieves. So I tried out as a duelist player. I played Phoenix and Raze at the time, weighing my options. That was just one of my tier 1 offers. There's a lot of other offers that I was getting at the time too, but 100 Thieves was my number 1 at the time, and basically how it started. And then after that, let's skip a couple years. After my time with Anbox, Hector reached out to me again, asking if I would be interested in a project, potentially starting up a secondary team, or supporting the main team in some way. And at the time, I didn't really think about wanting to be in the backlines yet. I still wanted to play. I still wanted to do things on the main stage. So I was still weighing my options, but everything else just didn't make sense in terms of my own growth. And so eventually I went back to Hector and I was like, yeah, let's fucking do it. And that's kind of where I joined as a quote unquote analyst, but I wouldn't really call it an analyst job because I was still doing player duties. I was still playing. That's kind of where I got my sub role that came from, the sub role. Obviously, in any event, I was ready to play. So for anyone that didn't think that I was playing at the time, I definitely was still playing. I was still interested in playing. I was just doing more on the side on top of playing. So anything that he needed me to do, like work on strategies, watch the enemy, work with a player, stuff like that, I would volunteer and do it because that's, a different way. I never thought about how you can use a substitute player. So that's kind of where I developed my relationship with Hector.
So which year was this in? Like specifically?
The first was basically 2020.
Yeah.
When he was on 100 Thieves, I was about close to the end of 2021.
Yeah.
Like summer.
Yeah.
Like June.
That's like
because he trialed for 100 Thieves before we ended up signing Steel and everything.
So
like
that's
the
what he
first
meant.
year of Valorant.
Yeah. So after the PUBG roster, so basically they gave us a PUBG roster. Hiko could have signed with a bunch of orgs, decided to go with the 100 Thieves. They basically told him he could build his own team. They didn't give him the chance to build his own team. They actually threw a team that was apparently winning small tournaments that were from Fortnite onto him, right? So then we go, okay, this is it. Then we're playing in all these cups and we're losing to everybody. And eventually, they basically come to us and are like, why are we losing? And we're like, well, the expectations are really high and you're putting us with people that are very inexperienced that you need to go back to the basics with. Yeah. So it's like they never really had the time to develop because they don't really come from CS fundamentals. They're just aimers that came from another game.
Basically, you guys had like different fundamentals. And,
way different. I mean,
how
Hiko's...
you guys see the game, basically?
Yeah, I mean, Hiko's game IQ compared to them at the time, they weren't even on the same planet. They weren't even playing the same game, right? So, and the thing is, it's not their fault. It's when you take a bunch of Fortnite players and throw them in this sandbox, it's different. Yeah, and it's going to take time. And then they're playing against, at the time, it was like Wardell, Hayes, who also, Sentinel, Shazam, Skadoodle, Ska,
so like,
Brax.
Basically like the top...
They're just getting waxed.
FPS game players turned Valorant pros, basically.
Yeah, so then when they gave us the opportunity to make our own roster, we started... so he talked about Poach and himself, and there was a bunch of other people that actually tried out. I guess I can say this now. JKS tried out. Bro, we had everybody. JKS, Elise, we had everybody trying out. Some of them
Valorant?
Some of them didn't like the game. Some of them just wanted to do other things. Twist.
Yeah.
That's the one to me that hurts the most because I thought he was going to be there. But it just didn't turn out. And without being too coy, let's just say like if he decided to stay, it would have really changed the trajectory in terms of like what the other roster would have looked like, but it just didn't. Like I told Aaron a while ago, I kind of screwed him over because at the last minute, I basically fought to convince Hiko and Nitro to try out Austin and Dicey. So I had wanted Dicey on the original roster a while ago because coming out of the beta, there was two players I really, really, really liked. There was a guy named Dev and Dicey. And I thought they were really good. So
that's probably how you guys formed into like the 2021 100 Thieves roster?
No, 2020 because
20?
Yeah, we won first strike with Aslan and Dicey. Yeah.
Oh, right. And then you guys swapped into...
So Aaron and Poach, I think, were probably going to be the final five. But when we got Aslan and Dicey, they kind of stole the show in a sense. Made everything a lot easier.
And then you came and played for like the... Which tournament was it?
It was the last chance qualifier for Berlin Champions, I think, in 2021.
Oh, 2021. Yeah. Because it was the one that there was some kind of technical difficulties.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah, it goes from a LAN tournament to an online tournament.
Yeah.
It gives
That's
people
what
10
happened.
days to study our VODs when basically no one else had game tape because they did one side of the bracket first. So we made it all the way to winners finals doing that. And then they go, teams can't stay inside. I have no problem. It was basically Rise and FaZe couldn't be professional enough to do the things that they needed to do. So what ended up happening was a bunch of players keep going out. They get COVID. And then all of a sudden, the LAN becomes an online tournament. That is unlucky.
So how did he end up on 100 Thieves?
Out of necessity. we needed to build an academy team. I had been wanting one for a while because NA was really unprofessional. So like you couldn't really scrim good teams because they often didn't scrim, or if they did, they would cancel last second, and it became really problematic. So there was a bunch of teams with a bunch of talent that I wanted at the time to, eventually replace the old guard that I knew only had a shelf life of about 2 years because the players were kind of open about this. I couldn't get the players I wanted. So, for instance, there was a roster called Phoenix One, which had Precision and Zekin. I had really wanted that core to basically be part of our thing to eventually integrate into 100 Thieves. That didn't work out. So I ended up having to build a team myself, basically the same way I found Austin and Dicey. Him, Torify, Jovi, Pure VNS, and Seven were basically our like scrim partner for like the whole summer. And I made them run scout team, just like we do with us. So they basically ran other people's sets, plays. They gave us the looks we wanted. They basically ran through all the weaknesses of like any.
So basically just a more productive kind of practice.
Yeah.
Because we're prepping for what it's probably going to look like in a real game.
Yeah, so like we did that. We experimented with this in Crossfire. In CS, we did it with Blade, where like you would have like teams that you can collaborate with in this way, and you could have more organized practice even with the coaches. So for instance, I would be in the observer slot with them, right? And since I'd have both sides of the tape, you could basically like, me and you have done this, where you get in, you VOD review it, and since you know the answers on the test, now I get to grade you on your recognition.
Close you were, basically.
Right.
So was he on the scout team?
He was on the scout team. He actually was IGL for the scout team. So what I would do is spend individual time with him on like, so for instance, it'll be like Phase or Sentinels. And I'll be like, okay, look, here's what they run here. Here's what they do here. Here's what we're going to do, right? So he knew exactly what we're going to do. Find the gaps, find the problems. Since you know what's coming, make practice really hard. And I made practice almost impossible for them.
The experience you had with him, that's why you probably had like an year to pick him up, basically, to 100 Thieves.
Yeah, well, actually, it was even funnier. It was because everybody respected him. And sometimes I would draw stuff up and have him bring it to practice for me. So it wasn't just the in-game stuff. It's also the out-of-game stuff because he's like likable and like everybody had a lot of respect for him. So I basically would use him to be like, hey, listen, I want to run this play. What do you think? He's like, actually, I like it. Okay, you bring it to practice. And that's how we would like get it under the cracks, basically.
Okay. All right, guys. So enough of the old days. Like, let's talk about now. So as you know, like some of our fans and supporters are a bit confused on and are also frustrated about our current roster. So I'd like to ask you in person, like, why do you think we built the roster the way we did?
We built this roster, again, out of necessity. When I originally even thought about coming here, when you and I and Aaron had spoke at Worlds, our perspective was it was going to be Aaron and 4 ties. Because even though you can IGL, I felt at the smoke spot, it's a little bit hard. Because I went through what I went through with Nitro. It's not that you can't IGL from smoke spot, but it'll be much better if you could just lurk and sort of like
Do your own
give
thing,
info to
basically.
someone. Right.
Yeah.
Right. If he's going to take over the initiator role, I've always felt that flash initiator or even like the 3 spot, like a Sova or like a Breach or whatever, is better to IGL on because they're kind of with the pack. Right. So when we had those discussions, I was like, okay, well, who do I know that is available that can IGL well enough that I think it would help you? Obviously, Aaron was already here. It kind of just worked itself out that way. So our initial plan was to have 4 ties. What I didn't expect was what happened in trials. We had a very difficult time because people either quit because they didn't either like me or the system. They didn't want to play anymore. That's because of them. Some people were homesick and wanted to go back to Thailand. And even when we tried to find replacements for them, as you know, everyone's in contract jail. Because even though there's a ton of talent and a ton of players that we wanted, the buyout is bordering on egregious because they're asking for NA buyouts, which I think is kind of weird. And then also you have organizations that are basically bullying their players into staying. So it's like this weird situation that we're in. It's like, okay, sure, we want to represent Thailand in the best way possible, but how can we do that if literally we can't get any Thai players?
But we ended up with actually like a whole different roster. So what happened to you? Like what happened to Aaron, basically?
So I think what had happened from my perspective was, everyone's trying out. I was one of the tryouts as well. I think as he was talking about, some of the tryouts that we had, they were not participating anymore, stuff like that. And so we needed a different direction. And so we had new tryouts with, Governor, Ben, and Lenny. When I saw these guys trying out, and I was thinking about like chemistry in terms of like leadership and just like how things were flowing. Obviously, I when I slot myself in, it makes a lot of sense. But at the end of the day, there's an import rule. So if it came down to like me and Governor, I was thinking like 2 steps ahead. I was thinking about the long term. If I were to play now, sure, we would get instant results. Because my experience, my leadership that I'm able to bring, we'll probably do well right now. But I felt like we were going to run into issues later because there might be too much conflict in the long run, depending on maybe there's a language barrier, maybe there's a lack of experience elsewhere. I purposely took a step back. I still want to play, but I threw myself under the bus to have Governor play instead, so that way I can also nurture this player, nurture everyone else, while being able to, still work on myself as well. Because,
So
when I'm working
basically what he's trying to say is he's still wants to play, guys. So keep that in mind to all the fans.
It was kind of hard because
it was very
Ben
hard.
had other trials. Mm-hmm. And when you thought about the roster that we ended up putting together, I mean, as you know, it's pretty much the roster that best performed in the trial. Consistently, right?
Yeah.
So it became really hard when Governor and Ben already had chemistry. Lenny was kind of the equalizer because most people wouldn't have put him on the roster before the trial. Sure, we gave him a chance, but I don't think anybody really thought. But when you put them all together, the glove kind of fit.
It kind of works. In
Right.
a way.
And I think that to all of us became sort of like obvious that if we let Ben go, what do we slot in and replace? And then it became who played the best together. And that's sort of, I think, how we got this.
How did Surf come into play?
Do you want the truth or the politically correct response?
Let's just go with the truth.
The truth is everyone else we wanted was contract jailed and we couldn't get. And then it became, how do we get the most value out of the spot? And Surf, for some reason, was left out in the cold, even though he has lane experience and even though he obviously can play duelist at a high level. So I said, I need a scout team guy because we're in APAC. There are so many players here that have really, really, really high level mechanics, which he does. They are missing the other pieces. So it didn't matter that he may have been missing another piece. What he does really well, a lot of people do well here, and we need to play against that. So why not have him run scout team? So for me, it immediately became basically what we talked about with Aaron. It was, a guy like that will be very good with us because he can give Governor and Ben a really hard time in practice when we do things like control scrimmages, all of the situational work we have. And he's been doing a great job at that. So that's how he ended up here. So how much he plays, I'm not really sure.
There might be some questions around like, why are we continuing with like a 6-man roster? So is it a 6-man roster? And if it is, like, why is it important to you?
He's doing very well. There's a chance that he ends up playing, right? Sure. Does he end up taking an active spot on the starting roster? Personally, for me, which is, I think, large in part due to sometimes why I'm disliked, I don't have a problem having difficult conversations. You know this very well, right?
Yeah, he'll just say like shit straight up to your face.
Yeah, if
like you're trash. That kind of thing. That's what I get a lot, but yeah, I got used to it real fast.
I think what you're forgetting is also the other stuff that comes with it. The individual VOD review, the work, the tech learning, here's what you need to do. So, I have no problem telling you killed us today. I need you to be better in these situations. No problem. If he ends up outperforming current duelists, the duelists are aware that this guy's coming, right? And that there's a potential that he can. And I'm not adverse to changes because at the end of the day, I didn't come here to lose. I didn't come all the way to Korea to just start losing. So I would just say He has every opportunity he needs in order to perform. As you remember,
Right.
Torify got a starting spot after this thing because he was just frying everybody now because he learned so much from playing all the 100 Thieves guys. Yeah. Seven became a very popular name and a known face in NA because of the same thing. He took all the lessons and everything else.
Ended up joining, I think, TSM.
Yeah.
And then he ended up on T1.
Yeah. So like, if you think about all of the stuff that happened, Surf has the opportunity to do that too. What happens with us is basically largely determined by what happens at practice. You know, are people showing up and doing the things that they are supposed to do?
Basically results. I really wanted to clarify it to like everyone, as you may know that we're representing Thailand. If we don't get results, we're definitely going to make changes. At the end of the day, we're all here to win. Doesn't really matter. I would just like everyone to like see us as a team more, you know, as a 5-man roster, 6-man roster, doesn't matter. Just people who want to play to win. So I would like everyone to cheer us for that and for our staff and members as well. So how do you think like your skill set has helped us in terms of like the Thai Valorant scene?
Politically correct answer or truth? What do you want?
I've always wanted the truth.
Okay, so let's have an honest conversation about this. How much better do you think you are today than you were before you met me? Honestly.
Honestly,
don't lie because the cameras are here. Just
yeah. Honestly, I think I've talked to a lot of our teammates as well in terms of like the Thai players, the Thai staff, and the truth. I really did tell them that I think we all got a lot better. Jet said the same thing, even though he might be a little bit like, you know,
I'm from New York. You can say rough around the edges. Right?
Yeah, basically.
Sure.
So it's like it might have been tough for us or some of the players, the Thai players, to not be used to this kind of way of learning. But we've definitely gotten better, and I totally agree that we had more experience learning from you than what we have had in the past like 2-3 years for sure.
Sure. We can all agree that Thai culture, American culture, inner city kid out of New York,
Totally different.
Right. We are so different, and the way we handle things are different. The way we speak to each other is different. The way we approach each other is different. And I will be honest also, since we're having this discussion, one of the biggest problems I had with Valorant is people are so afraid what other people are going to think that they're afraid to tell people the truth. And this has been my problem in Valorant since the beginning. It's like, I've seen more teammates talk about other teammates when teammates aren't around, and teammates talk to each other about, hey, you know, you need to do this better because you're killing me here. Yeah. Right?
Like we just couldn't say it up to their face, which should have been the right thing to do in terms of like, yo, if you did this, it would have been great for me, not behind his back, basically.
Right. And I've come from sports my whole life. You know, I'm a Latin American kid. I came from New York City. I'm not around this sort of like cloak and dagger approach to like interpersonal relationships. If I don't like something you're doing, I'm going to sit you aside and be like, hey, listen, I don't like what you're doing. If it happens more often than not, I'm going to eventually get to a point where we have a really tough conversation and others may be around. But at the end of the day, I feel like I've never disrespected you. I've never made you feel less of a person. Well, I definitely have been like, bro, what the you doing?
Yeah,
and that's
like just
I think that's okay.
saying the truth,
right? And how many times have you corrected me on something like, no, I don't agree with this. It's been this, and I'd be like, oh shit, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. My bad. It's okay to do it that way. I think it was difficult during the trial period for some people to have this sort of like stark realization of what's coming.
It's different.
Yeah, but like I said, I didn't come here to lose. And I think ultimately, though, even when I'm gone, even when Aaron's gone, eventually, obviously, the plan is for the Thai scene to be fully represented with the team. And if you look at, you know, Jersha or even your older team on like X10, imagine if you knew what you knew now. How much better would those teams be if you could go back?
Yeah, it would be so much different. Yeah, that's
right.
For sure.
And the Thai scene has the talent. There's so many players, even me and you want, that we can't do anything about because of all that stuff. But imagine by the end of all of this, how much more prepared are you for that job of trying to win a championship and bring one home to time? And I think that is effectively what we're starting here. What happens this season? We don't know, man. We got to do the work.
We'll see about that. Okay, so enough about our team now. Let's talk about the teams in the league, right? So who do you think is taking the title this year? And who's going to be like at the bottom of the table this year? Let's start with Aaron.
Well, recently DFM just came out with another roster change right before the season or kickoff starting. So I think they removed their 2 Korean players,
Who did they pick up?
JoJo and Suggest, and they picked up Medusa from Crazy Raccoon.
Still a Korean player.
Still a Korean player, but I think that's obviously a massive upgrade. You know, we'll have to see how they've been playing. Obviously, like they didn't have such a great season last season. You know, not to rub any salt in wounds, but you know, I'm hopeful that they can turn it around. But I think they still have a lot to prove as much as we do, and I'm very confident that we can make top 4 for sure. And I'm gonna say it here now that as long as we put in the work, you know, like I know for sure we'll make it because I'm doing as much as I can for you guys. You guys are doing as much as you can. Simple as that. Now, for what I expect in the top, it's kind of a hard stretch because everyone's kind of making changes. I think Paper X is probably they look so different. Not because like they're not aggressive, but like the way they play aggressive is not. It doesn't look like them. I don't know how to explain it since we've played them. DRX, they've had 2 changes. It's, you know, I think Flashback's very good. It's still a question mark for me on Foxy. So I'm not too sure how well they're going to play. But, yeah, I think all these other teams, I think every team is literally a question mark right now. I don't know who's going to win.
Top 3, just without knowing or seeing, let's just see if you like can get the right answer. Top 3.
Top 3.
We'll come back to this right after the season end, and you might be like, you know.
I'm a genius, I guess. Yeah, top 3, probably DRX, Paper X, us.
Sounds good. What about bottom 3?
Ooh, probably, probably Global, RQ, DFM.
Okay, I'm not sure I agree with the RRQ one though.
That's
kind of capped to me.
Okay. what about you, Hector?
I mean, I do agree with a lot of what he's saying, and on us, I certainly think top 3 is up for grabs for sure. Mm-hmm. I think from what we see, the talent we have and what's possible, you know, my goal is top 4 minimum.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, if you want to add a 4th in the top 4, I'd say Zeta.
Okay.
Don't let him.
That's
don't get him started, bro.
Funny enough, in 2021, I had a tweet about Zeta when I was at Berlin. I thought they were the dark horse, and I was so impressed by them then. And I'm still impressed by Laz. I think Laz is fantastic. But, yeah, good luck to him.
So the top 3 is...
I think, yeah, it's easy to say DRX, PRX. I'll say for us, the harder challenge is going to be DRX, not because PRX isn't better. I think PRX is the best individual team in the league, so that's not that. It's just style-wise, I think for us, DRX is a bigger problem. Because there's always that... This thing about Valorant, there's always that pop-off opportunity, right? It's Band and Gov, pop-off. And the thing is, scrim results from a long time ago, but you've seen Gov against those guys.
Yeah.
It's possible, right? So DRX presents for us a different challenge. It's not so much that they're just smarter people, but their system is more sophisticated. And I will say that they practiced that way for a while, so it could be a problem. I think RRQ actually, so you put them bottom 3. I think I put them around close to top 3 potentially. So that's interesting. If we're adding a 4th team, so it's basically
for the spot?
Yeah, there's like 3 teams that could potentially be top 4.
What about T1, right?
Ooh,
Like Q1 Genji, I think it's a huge question mark because, you know, like I said, almost every team has gone through a change, and we barely got to see them play.
But with the recent results...
And they made more changes.
All I'm going to say is this. With being as respectful as possible, you bring someone over to be an IGL that isn't an IGL now, and you don't have a history of winning, right? That's all I'm going to say. So I think...
That has nothing to do with me, guys.
Yeah.
So who will be your top 3 and bottom 3 final decision?
You can go first on this one, Chief.
I think I'm just going to switch my answer now.
I'll stand on it.
No, I think it's gonna be Dear X, Zeta, and us.
Oh, you wild. You are wild.
And then bottom?
Bottom, think DFM, Genji, T1.
You?
I still think DRX and PRX are above the rest. I think I'm just going to stick with we are third. Yeah, we better be third. Bottom three. I think DFM is in a world of hurt now. Sure, you might be able to have a honeymoon period, but the teams are too good this year. You can't just randomly just throw people together. And you know they're going to pug it out the first 3 weeks because they're going to be learning new stuff. There's no way. Global, for sure, didn't look that great. This is actually harder than you think. I don't think I'll put T1 there, but
That's why I just threw random names in there.
I think T1 should be better just by talent alone. The more I think about it, the more it looks. Yeah, I'll just agree with him and go, I think T1 could potentially be that bad. Unlucky.
Top or flop?
Let's close this podcast off with top or flop, where we take a look at this week's Twitter takes, photos, memes, content, and we rank them as top or flop, basically. So the first one is Safe's tweet. What do you think about this one?
I mean, that's a top. I mean,
That's definitely a top.
that is so
Speaking
accurate.
facts.
It's
I mean,
very
even
accurate.
here, we blacklisted, what, about 8 teams now?
Yeah, so we
tough.
kind of do that if we feel like we're not getting the reps we should be getting. So that's what we do. So this is definitely a top.
Oh, he's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
This one though. This one. So this is another one from NRG. Do we incorporate this into our team?
I thought it was really funny when I saw it. Do we incorporate it? I mean,
I'm down.
yeah. That's a great idea. Put it that way.
Which two in our team?
Ban and governor.
Ban and
Ban and
Gov for
Governor.
sure.
Ban and governor. And me and Jit.
Shit,
Me and Jit boys.
that'd be funny.
The no gym boys. Dude buys a gym membership and doesn't even go. Unlucky, bro.
The last one. Top or flop? Like, do you think they deserve this or no?
I mean, it's okay. It's tough when you phrase it that way. Who the heck are we to say who deserves what? Are we surprised by the list?
Are you surprised by
bit.
this?
No, I'm not surprised by the list at all. I think it's pretty much what I
I
expected.
think it's reasonable
Yeah.
because it's personalities, right? Which
Yeah.
means like
I don't see a name that I question at all. Like,
Yeah. I think all right, so from Aaron's perspective, I'm pretty sure you're thinking these people don't have personalities. Why is it a 2023 personalities list? I don't disagree with you there. I was just saying, in terms of searches,
this
I
makes
can
sense.
understand why
Yeah,
that
this
makes sense.
sense.
Personalities, let's all be real. Something shouldn't be on there.
Yeah.
Nobody knows anything about him, and I'm not even sure he speaks, right? But he's an absolute demon, so I get why everybody wants to be a part of it, right? So,
Yeah, it's
or
not
him, or
basically their personality is
Yeah.
just their
Yeah.
gameplay.
Right, 100%. People are not now. If you want to characterize his art form, and his skill expression as personality, sure, great. That guy's as fearless as they come. He's an actual demon. But yeah, like I don't think I've ever really heard him speak. So it's like he's not like funny like Boaster. Even Ye as a personality, I think is pretty interesting and like funny
like
to listen
Psalm.
to. Yeah, Psalm's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Psalm is definitely awesome.
Who's your favorite personality? Yours. Actual personality,
FNS.
not skill expression.
Sabrosa?
Bosa.
That guy's the meme, bro.
you're
Like,
so
I
seen as
love
funny,
him.
bro.
Yeah.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
You agree with me?
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, we've actually used his name at least once a day with Governor.
Yeah.
For not the best
Rosa.
reasons. Unlucky, right.
Rosa.
Unlucky.
Okay, guys, so that's it for today's first episode of Flight Club. Let us know what you guys want to see in the next episode. What do you guys think of the first episode, Aaron and Hector?
I think it was pretty good.
That's cool.
I'm very curious to see, some of these guys. I would really like people to understand Lenny a little more for sure. Obviously, the hilarity that is Governor and Ban and Jip Boys. Everybody needs to know Jip Boys, who I think might be the breakout player
That
this
might be
season.
the new saying.
Jip Boys.
Jip boys. Thank you, Hector. Thank you, Aaron. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and see you guys next time.